Hello my dear students of class 10. Welcome to Concept Mastery. In this session we are going to take up the last topic of algebraic method, that is cross multiplication method. In total we have three methods under algebraic method, that is substitution method, elimination method and cross multiplication method. We are done with elimination and substitution. Now we are left with the last topic, that is cross multiplication method. So let's start. Okay, this cross multiplication method, if we compare with the other two method, that is substitution and elimination, so it is a method which consumes little bit of more time compared to the other two method. So under cross multiplication method, the word says cross multiplication or cross multiply, right? That means basically we're going to use this method. We know about cross multiplication. Whenever we have an equation, that is, let's say we have x by y equal to p by q. Whenever we have such type of equation, that is, we have equal to sign and then we have fraction in both sides, then we used to use this method, right, which we have learned in our lower classes, that is cross multiply. We multiply the numerator of this fraction with the denominator of the other fraction, and then similarly the numerator of this fraction with the denominator of the other fraction. So this is the method which is known as cross multiply. So this technique is going to be applied under cross multiplication method. So out here in cross multiplication method, we need to do some arrangement in the equation. That is, in the other two methods we don't have such rules that we need to arrange the equations, but here we need to be careful with the arrangement of the equation. For example, let's say I've taken one question, 2x plus y is equal to 5, and then we have let's say 3x plus 2y equal to 8. I have taken this question from exercise 3.3.5, question number B1 number 2. Okay, so now out here we know that this is the constant term, right? This is the constant term. That means that a number which doesn't have any variable. So this is the constant term. We term this number as constant term, right? So a number which doesn't have any variable. So this constant term, the placement, okay, the placement of this constant term is very important. We in cross multiplication method we make three headings. In these equations, in these two equations, we have what are the variables that we have used. The variables that we have used out here is x and y. So you will make three headings using that variable, the name of that variable x, y, and then for a constant term we use 1. Here sometimes we use +1, sometimes we use -1. That's the point that we need to note in order to arrange the equation. So if the equation has, let's say the equation was 2p plus 3q equal to 9, and then 3p plus 5q equal to 10, then our heading will be our variable, the variables used out here is p, q, right? So our heading will be p, q, and either plus or minus 1 for constant term. This 1 will represent constant term, this q will represent the variable out here, and then this p will represent the variable out here, right? So according to the variables you need to make the heading. I hope this is clear. So we need to make three headings: variable, the name of the variable, and 1 for constant term, either plus or minus. We are not going to use both plus and minus at one time. So now whenever we keep whenever we keep all the terms in left hand side and one side is 0, for example, let's say it is 2x plus y, and we are transferring this 5 to left hand side, then plus 5 will become minus 5 equal to 0. So whenever we make such arrangement, that is, we are keeping all the terms on one side and one of the side is equal to 0. So in such arrangement, if we make such arrangement, then we will be using +1, okay, the heading will be +1, not -1. Whenever we make such arrangement, that is, we are keeping all the terms on the left hand side, and if we are keeping one side as 0, then in this type of arrangement we'll be using the heading +1. In case if you are keeping your equation as in this order, that is, your constant term is in the right hand side, right? Your constant term is in the right hand side. If you are keeping such arrangement, if you are keeping such equations, then you will be using -1, then you will be using heading as -1. So please remember, if you are keeping your constant term on right hand side, if you are not doing any arrangement, then you will be using -1 as a heading, and if you are keeping all the terms on one side and you're keeping one side as 0, then you'll be using +1. But please decide which method you are going to follow. I'm going to follow the method of +1, that is all the time under cross multiplication method. All the time under cross multiplication method, I'll be using all the terms on one side. I'll not be using -1. That's why I'll be keeping all the terms on the left hand side. Okay, so it depends upon you. You can also use -1 as a heading, but while using -1, then you need to keep the constant term on the right hand side. Better to use +1 and keep all the terms on the left hand side. So please remember to make this arrangement. Now you got some idea that we need to make three headings, and we need to do some arrangement in order to use +1 or -1. Okay, so now let's start the process and then learn how we are going to do, or we're going to solve equations using cross multiplication method. So this was the question, 2x plus y equal to 5, and the other one was 3x plus 2y is equal to 8. So this is our question, this is our first equation, and this will be our second equation. So since I'm going to use +1 as a heading, so I'll be converting, or I'll be transferring this constant term on left hand side. Even here 3x plus 2y plus 8 will become -8 equal to 0. So this will be our final equation 1, and this will be our final equation 2. Now what you need to do is that you need to take out the coefficient. That is, you need to take out the value of a1, b1, c1, a2, b2, and c2. So what is a1? A1, I hope I have explained all this in the introduction part of pair of linear equation two variables. A1 refers to the coefficient of the first variable of equation 1. 1 will represent equation 1, 2 will represent equation 2. So whenever you use A1, that means we need to focus on equation 1. So in equation 1, you need to take out the coefficient of the first variable. That is, the first variable out here is x. So the coefficient means the partner of this variable is 2, right? So you will take out 2. That means leaving x, whatever you have, you need to use as the value of a1. What about b1? B1 will be the coefficient of, that means the second variable. The second variable out here is y. The coefficient of y is, leaving y, what we are left with, leaving y, we are left with 1, right? If we don't have any number out here, it will be 1 out here. So b1 is 1. Be careful, if you have minus sign, you need to consider the minus sign as well. C represents what? C represents constant term. Okay, C represents constant term. Constant term means a number, a numerical value without any variable. So constant term out here is -5. Please consider the sign as well. Now when you go to A2, we'll be focusing on, equation 2. So equation 2, A2 represents the coefficient of the first variable, that is 3. It's +3. B2 is equal to 2, and then C2 is equal to -8. So first, in the cross multiplication method, the first step is to arrange the equation. You arrange the equation, that is, you transfer all the terms on the left hand side. It's not compulsory, but if you want to use +1 as the heading, you need to transfer. And then the second step is take out the values of a1, b1, c1, a2, b2, and c2. Now you will make the heading which I was talking about in the introduction part. The heading out here, the heading will be, you have variable as x and y, so the heading will be x, y, and then for constant term you'll be using +1 because I've transferred the constant term on left hand side. So x, y, and 1. Now this is the point you need to be a bit careful. Okay, we have a background music of the murga. So now out here for x under the heading x, see, for x we have used which terms? A1 and A2, right? The coefficient that we have used is A1 and A2. So for x, since we have used A1 and A2, so you will leave this, you leave the terms that we have used for x and write down the remaining terms, that is b1, b2, c1, c2. For example, while coming back to y, for y we have used b1 and b2, right? For y, for the coefficient of y, we have used b1 and b2. So you leave the coefficient of y, and write down the other coefficient and constant term under y. Under constant term, that is under 1, under the heading 1, for 1 we have used c1 and c2, right? For 1 we have used c1 and c2. So for 1, since we have used c1 and c2, we'll be leaving c1 and c2 and write down a1 by a2, b1 by b2. So what the point that I'm trying to make out is that if you are selecting x, then the coefficient of x will not be written under the heading x. If you are going to y, then the coefficient of y will not be written under the heading y, and if you are going to constant term, that means the constant term will be ignored, and then we'll be writing down the other coefficient. So x, for x, since we have used a1 and a2, so we'll be using b1 by b2. We'll not be using the coefficient related to x, okay, and the remaining one is c1 by c2. Please write down this in the middle, in the center, because we'll be using this for both x and y. We'll be using this for both x and y. So now for y we'll not be using which one? We have three terms, right? a1, a2, b1, b2, and c1, c2. For y, since we have used b1 and b2, so we'll not be using b1 and b2. We'll be using a1 and a2 and c1 and c2. But since we have already written c1 and c2 out here, because I told you that the middle term will be used for both the terms, so since we have used we have already written for y, c1 and c2, so what you will do is that we'll be writing down a1 and a2. Next, for this one, even this you can write it on the center. You can write this in the center, a1 by a2. So let me bring a bit close these headings, x, y, and 1, right? So we have, for x we'll not be using a1 and a2, so leaving a1 and a2, we have b1 by b2, and in the center we'll be writing c1 and c2. So this c1 and c2 will be using for both x and y. For y, we have what? We have b1 and b2, so we'll be ignoring this one, and then we are left with a1 and a2 by c1 and c2. But c1 and c2 we have already written, then we'll be writing a1 by 2. Please write down the mid center, because we'll be counting this in both a, y, and 1. So for 1, we'll not be using c1 and c2, because for 1 we have used for constant term we have used these terms, right? So for constant term we have used this term, so we'll be leaving this one, and then we'll be switching to a1 and a2 by b1 and b2. But for a1 and a2 we have already written, now we'll simply write b1 and b2. Okay, so we'll do one more question, and then I think by that time you'll be clear with this part. Okay, now you'll be using the cross multiplication part. Now you'll be using the cross multiplication. You multiply this and this under x, this and this under y, and this under 1. Okay, so here we write down the heading x, and then multiply. See, always we need to multiply from the extreme left. Okay, extreme left. So you will start multiplying from b1 and c2, not c1 and b2. You will not start multiplying by c1 and c2. You will multiply by b1 and c2. So b1 into c2, and always in the center we'll use minus sign. Always in the center we'll be using minus sign. This is the formula, c1 by into b2. Okay, equal to sign y by now out here for y we have these two terms, right? For y we have these two other terms for y. Yes or no? So you cross multiply c1 into, always from the left hand side, c1 into a2 minus a1 into c2 is equal to 1 by, for 1 we have this, this is for constant term, so we have a1 into a2 minus b1 into b2. Now we'll apply the values. For b1, what is the value? For b1 we have the value, b1 is 1, so use this information out here, so b1 is 1. Be careful with the sign. c2 is equal to minus 8 minus c1 is equal to again minus 5. This minus from the formula, this minus is from the formula, this minus 5 belongs to c1 into b2 is again 2 equal to y by c1. Where is c1 is minus 5, a2 is equal to 3, and a1 is equal to 2 into c2 is equal to minus 8 equal to 1 by a1 into a2. A1 is equal to, no, it's not be a1 into a2, it will be a1 into b2, right? So we have made a mistake. It will be a1 into b2. So out here it will be a1 into b2, and this will be b1 into a2. So a1 into b2 and b1 into a2. Okay, because we need to cross multiply. So a1 is equal to 2 into b2 is equal to again 2, b2 is also 2 minus b1 is equal to 1, and a2 is equal to 3. So x by my 8 into minus 8 into 1 is minus 8, minus is plus, or first you can multiply minus 5 into minus 2, or minus 5 into 2 is minus 10, minus 10 into minus, it will be again plus 10. Either you first multiply these two, minus minus is plus, and 5 2s are 10, okay, equal to y by minus 5 into 3 will be minus 15. Out here minus minus is plus, and 2 8s are 16, equal to 1 by 2 2s are 4, and 1 3 is a 3. So you solved it, this one, x by, it will be plus 2 because 10 is greater, y by plus 1 equal to 1 by 1. So now you'll actually, what is the question we are told to solve, right? Solve means we need to find the value of the variable. So now what you will do is that in order to find the value of x, you will equal this x by 2 with constant term. That is, you will write this as x by 2 equal to 1 by 1. And in order to find the value of y, what you will do is y by 1, you will equal this y with constant term. That means both x and y will be equal with constant term. So what will be the value of x? You cross multiply again, x 1s are x, that is numerator into denominator, and 1 into 2 is 2. So we got the value of x as 2, and out here y into 1 is y, and this will be 1 into 1 is 1. That is I've used, again out here again I've used cross multiply, because whenever you find equal to sign, whenever you find fractions on both sides and equal to sign, you always cross multiply, okay? So we got the answer for the first question. Let's do one more question and we'll be done with cross multiplication method. So I'll be picking questions from 3.5 itself. Now question number 4 from 3.5, question number B1. I'm not solving question number 1 and 3 because these are no solution and infinite solutions. That's forget about it. Just focus on cross multiplication method as of now. Okay, just try to learn cross multiplication method. So x minus 3y minus 7 equal to 0. We have 3x minus 3y minus 15 equal to 0. So solution, we have first what we need to do, we need to arrange, right? But here we have already the equations are already arranged, because we need all the terms on left hand side. Since we are going to use plus 1 as the heading, if we are going to use minus 1 as the heading, then we need to transfer this to again right hand side. But we are going to use plus 1 for all the questions under cross multiplication method. So it's already arranged, so simply you will take out the value of a1, b1, c1, a2, b2, and c2, right? This was a step. First equation, second equation. So what is a1? A1 is equal to 1, because leaving x we have only 1. b1 will be a coefficient of y, that is we have minus 3. c1 is constant term, that is we have minus 7. a2 is equal to 3, b2 is equal to minus 3, and c2 is equal to minus 15. So what's the third step? The third step was, the first step was arrangement, but arrangement is not required. The second step is to write down the values of a1, b1, and c1, and the third step is to make the heading. So the heading will be for, even here we have the variable x and y. If it is p, q, r, m, accordingly you need to make the heading, okay? So we have x, we have y, and we have, for a constant term we'll be using plus 1, because all the variables are on all the terms are on the left hand side. So plus 1. Now for x we have used which coefficient? For x we have used a1 and a2. So leaving a1 and a2, we'll be writing the other one. That is, always ignore the coefficient that we have used for x while writing for y. Ignore the coefficient that we have used for y while writing for 1. This one represents constant term, you will leave constant term, okay? So for x we have used this coefficient a1 and a2. We will be ignoring this one, and then we'll be writing the other one, that is b1, b2, and then all the others will be in the center, okay? c1 by c2, because this c1 by c2 will be counted for both x and y. Now for y, we'll be ignoring b1 and b2, because we have used the coefficient b1 and b2 for y. Ignore this one, leaving b1 and b2. We need a1 by a2 and c1 by c2, but c1 and c2 is already written out here. So we'll be using a1 by a2 only. This 2 term is for y, this 2 term is for x, and then for 1 we have used constant term, c1 and c2. So we'll be ignoring this one. We are left with a1 and a2 by b1 by b2. So already a1 and a2 is out here, because it's in the center. We'll be using for both y and 1. So already we have written a1 and a2, so we'll be writing only b1 and b2 out here. So now cross multiply. For x we have this and this, for y we have this and this, and for 1 we have this and this, okay? So for x we have always from the left hand side b1 into c2, minus sign in the in between, as according to the formula, b2 equal to b1 into c2, c1 into b2. Now we have for y, we have c1 into a2 minus a1 into c2 equal to 1 by a1 into b2 minus b1 into a2. So now plot down the values. Okay, we need the values. So x minus x by b1 is minus 3 and c2 is minus 15, minus c1 is minus 7 and b2 is equal to minus 3, equal to y by c1 is equal to minus 7, a2 is equal to 3, a1 is equal to 1 and c2 is equal to minus 15. Be careful while writing down these values, okay, because even while plotting down the values or while writing down the values from the question, if you have made any mistakes out here, that is with the sign or with the values, then your answer will be wrong. So please make sure from the starting itself you are doing correctly. So y by 7 minus 7 into 3 minus 1 into minus 15. So now we have for 1, so 1 is for constant term, so a1, where is a1? A1 is 1, b2, this is b2, so b2 is equal to minus 3, b1 is equal to minus 3 again, and then a2 is equal to 3. Now let's multiply this one. We have x by minus 3 into minus 15 will be 15 3 is a 45, and minus minus is plus. Here we have minus plus, again plus into minus because we have 3 minus and out here, minus from the formula in this, and then this minus and minus belongs to the values. So minus plus minus again. So 7 3 is a 21. Be careful with the sign, please. Don't forget to multiply the sign while multiplying the values. Minus 7 into 3 is minus 21, and minus again plus 1 15 is a 15. 1 by 3 into 1 is minus 3, and minus is plus, 3 3 is a 9. So if we solve this one, x by 45 minus 21 will be, I think it will be equal to 24. Yeah, it will be equal to 24, equal to y by, it will be equal to 6, right? Minus 6. It's equal to minus 6 because the 21 is greater, and then 1 by minus 3 plus 9. So we have out here 1 by plus 6 because 9 is greater. So now let's solve for x and y. For x, now for x, how will you find the value? For x will equal this x by 24 equal to 1 by 6. That means both x and y will be equal with constant term, right? That is, for y will be using y by minus 6 equal to it 1 by 6. Okay, both variable will be at last, after solving, after multiplying, you equal it with constant term, that is 1 by 6. So we have, after, if you cross multiply, what you'll get, x into 6 equal to 1 into 4, 1 into 24, right? So x equal to, if you transfer this 6, you will get 24 by 6. So 6 4s are 24. So we have x is equal to 4. So we got the value of x. Now for y, cross multiply, y into 6 and 1 into minus 6. We have y is equal to 1 into minus 6 is minus 6 divided by 6. 6 1s are 6. So we have y equal to minus 1. So I hope you are clear with the cross multiplication method as well. So we are done with all the methods. These two questions are enough to understand cross multiplication method. If you find problem, then try to watch it twice. Then I hope you will be clear with cross multiplication method as well. So from the next session, we'll be starting I think word problems, right? Yeah, we will be starting the word problems. First, I'll tell you how to convert word problems into equations, because students find problems in converting word problems into equations. So first we'll do that, and then we'll come to the exercise questions. Okay, thank you.